My coaching office is my happy place. I love that I have a space where I can meet with my face-to-face clients without interruptions, without a bunch of noise, and where I can control things like the lighting and the temperature. But some of my clients can't come see me here because they're in a different state or a different country, or they just have a really busy schedule and have to fit their sessions into smaller pockets of time. But that's not a problem because we can very easily work together online. In this video, I'm going to offer 5 tips for how you, as a client or a potential client, can get the most out of an online coaching session. So stick around. Hi, I'm Leslie Crudup Villa Garcia, and I am a life coach based here in Brisbane, Australia, in the suburb of Tenerife. I recently returned from a trip to the US to visit my family, as well as my other partner, Mateo. And it was a vacation, but I did still see some of my clients online during that time. I work with people to help them forge more fulfilling and purpose-driven lives. That requires commitment and consistency. So just because I was in a different place for a little while, didn't mean that they could just take a break from improving their lives. That's not how it works. Way back before I became a coach, I had spent over a decade working around the world as an educator, a trainer, a curriculum developer, a workshop facilitator, and an e-learning designer. I'm a pretty techie person, and in my training workshops, I had to communicate about how to use internet technologies creatively, for educational purposes mostly, to people across a wide spectrum of technological capabilities and language backgrounds. So when it comes to this topic, you're in pretty good hands. If you are ready to commit to living a better life, don't let distance become another bullshit excuse. Get online, book a session, and use these 5 tips to make sure that you get the most out of your online life coaching session. Tip number 1. Designate one coaching space. Try to use it as consistently as possible for future sessions. It doesn't even have to be inside your home. One thing that I recommend to clients sometimes is to find somewhere like a library where you can book a private meeting room so that we can have our sessions in a space that you don't already have a lot of other potentially negative associations with. If your home or your home environment is a source of stress for you, or if you live with people who are causing you a lot of stress, if your workplace or your school has a separate area that you can use once a week, once a fortnight, just for the purpose of having somewhere where you can set up your computer or set up your phone, whatever it might be, and talk to your life coach, you might also start to associate that particular space with empowerment, with your progress, with this commitment that you've made, so that every time you encounter it, you're immediately in that mindset of moving forward. If you have space in your home that serves a similar purpose, that's great. If you've got a home office or something like that. But even if you don't, you might want to use a really comfy couch. Don't be afraid to set up the space every time a little bit as well. If you've got like a really comfy recliner somewhere in your lounge room, you might want to shove it into a corner or a different room just for that 1 hour or 90 minutes if you're a Vanguard client. Because what that does is help you shift into that coaching client mindset. You've created a home for this one habit. It'll be easier for you to solidify any of the learnings that might come up in a session. Even if you're just sitting on your bed talking to your coach, You might consider doing something like laying down the quilts that your great-grandmother gave you and sitting on that during your session. You've created this little zone. Once you pull it out of the closet, throw it down onto the bed, you know, this is time to stop thinking about other things and just focus on this. You can then pack up afterwards to give yourself a clear signal that that task is complete and you're moving on to something else. So what you're doing essentially is creating a perimeter around this moment. So the following tips will give you things to consider when you're choosing a space to use for your coaching and how to set up that space for optimal success. Tip number 2. Sort out your lighting. It doesn't have to be perfect. Of course, it's easier for me to see you if your lighting is decent, but what's more important here is how your lighting might impact your confidence. If you dislike the way you look on camera, you might go into a session already feeling down about yourself, and then you'll have to work that little bit harder to stay present in the discussion. I mean, I'm not going to be judging you, but if you're already quite critical of yourself, then you might lose focus because you're getting distracted from what you're actually supposed to be thinking about. Natural light is great, even if you've got a decent lamp that you can shine onto your face, that's great. Ring lights are really nice. You don't have to invest a bunch of money to get a ring light just so you can have a decent coaching session, but some ring lights you can grab for like $10-20, and then you've got something that you can use for all of your Zoom meetings. Again, your lighting does not have to be perfect. It's not a beauty pageant. You don't have to impress your coach with how great your lighting is. This is purely for you, for your own confidence, and so you've got that one thing you can take off of your list of things that are going to be impacting how you feel during a session. Just something to think about. Tip number 3. Control your sound. Having a decent microphone, having a decent headset, or some AirPods, whatever it may be, is going to make communication between you and your coach so much better than if you've got a lot of noise in the room, if you've got a lot of background noise from traffic or from your housemates washing dishes and clinking things around, and your kids in the next room watching television on full blast. These things can be very distracting. It's not a wonderful feeling as a coach to have to ask you to repeat yourself when you're pouring your heart out about something. Obviously, if clarification is necessary, I will ask you to repeat yourself, but it's so much nicer to not have to break the flow of the conversation because you can't hear me or I can't hear you. So making sure that you are somewhere quiet or so that you can control background noise. This is also one reason that I don't meet clients in public places like cafes and things like that. Even if you can hear each other, it can still be really jarring to have a lot of background noise. A lot of that can just cloud your thinking in a way that you might not be totally conscious of in the moment, but it can negatively impact communication, especially if you find yourself raising your voice to be heard. We want to do away with all that. We want to have a nice, quiet atmosphere, or relatively quiet atmosphere, so that the only sounds that we're focused on are the words that are coming out of each of our mouths. Tip number 4. Ensure your privacy. Confidentiality is super important in a coaching relationship. Anything you say to me, I will not breathe a word of to another person unless I'm legally or ethically required to because someone's about to die, essentially. But you also need to think about things on your end. If you are logging on from home, do you have family members or housemates or tradies at the home who you really do not want to reveal sensitive information to? Do you have an open window with your neighbor working in their garden, who might be hearing everything you're saying. Are you okay with them hearing what you have to say? If you are, fine. But if you're not, it's up to you to plan ahead to make sure that no one else can hear what you're saying. And this is another reason why working in a space outside of your home, like a library meeting room, can be very beneficial. For some people, some of the reasons that you may seek out coaching are related to people in your lives. One of my coaching specializations is in navigating polyamory and ethical non-monogamy. And this is a context in which discretion might be absolutely essential, especially if you're in a place where any sort of alternative relationship style might put you at risk of losing your job or losing your family, or in some cases losing your wife. And other people who you bring up in those discussions can be implicated as well. So that is another reason you definitely want to make sure that nobody is listening in on our conversation. So you might schedule a session for when you know that no one's going to be home. Or you might ask the people you live with if they can, go for a walk or go to the park for an hour while you're having your session. I often encourage clients to take notes during their sessions as well, and making sure that whatever you're writing your notes in is something that you can keep in a safe, private place that will also give you more confidence that you can journal your heart out, reveal anything that you want about yourself, because journaling is a very useful tool, and no one else is going to see it. Do whatever you need to do to protect your own privacy, the privacy of your spoken words, the privacy of your written words as well. Tip number 5. Test your tech in advance. That means make sure you've got a nice solid internet connection. Make sure that your webcam is working properly. Make sure that you know how to use Zoom. I used to run sessions on Skype, even though I was very familiar with Zoom. But when 2020 hit and everyone learned how to use Zoom, there was no longer a barrier to learning around this program. So now I run all of my online sessions on Zoom, unless you've got a specific program that you prefer to use. Zoom is a very easy program to use, but if you're relatively new to it, it's still worth checking out some of the additional features. Virtual backgrounds if you don't want your coach to see the messy room behind you, the chat feature, the recording function if you want to record your session so you can watch it later. That's also an option that's worth familiarizing yourself with. One of the common frustrations that's become a bit of a joke these days for people logging on to a Zoom meeting, especially with a larger group, is spending the first 5 minutes trying to sort out why you can't hear everyone, whose microphone isn't working properly. And the time that you have for a coaching session is valuable. We don't want to waste a minute of it. So rather than rush to your computer to start your session right on time, it's worth jumping on a couple minutes earlier to make sure everything is working properly. Because being able to just get in there and start talking about what you're there to discuss, it benefits your coach, it benefits you, it benefits everyone. It just makes for a better session overall. So what is the main takeaway here? The good news is that no matter where you are in the world, we can still work together and achieve amazing results. You can book your free introductory consultation instantly through my website, leslievcoaching.com. Choose an online session or an in-person session. Choose a time, which will be shown in your time zone. Leave your name and contact info, and boom, you're in. You'll get a confirmation via email. And if you book an online appointment, that email will include the Zoom link for our session. No waiting or wondering when you'll hear from me. You just show up and we're all good. So get on that. And also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content related to how to live more fulfilling lives. Also, check out my free monthly book club the Vanguard Book Club for Personal Development. We meet in person and online as a hybrid session, and you can register through meetup.com. All right, I'll see you in the next video.